Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pathways to Happiness podcast. My name is Nena Lavonne, and today we are going to be talking about how to stop living a half-lived life and exploring what makes life seem meaningful, fulfilling, and worthwhile. We are going to get to the bottom of why we've become so complacent and talk about strategies to get us re-inspired and back on track to enjoying our lives again and living them to their absolute fullest. This topic could not be any more important to me, and believe me, I am in need of this encouragement just as much as everyone else right now. So hopefully at the end of this podcast, we will all leave with a sense of determination to have fun again, to get curious, to find our passions, and to be actively engaged in figuring out how to live our best lives. So I am excited to jump right into today's topic, but before we do so, as always, I just want to take a moment to sincerely thank you for all your support, both here and on the Nena Lavonne YouTube channel. You guys are amazing. You send in the most interesting and inspiring questions, so it is always a pleasure to answer them. So if you're not a subscriber, please take a moment to become one. If you are listening to this through YouTube, definitely also press the bell icon so you can get notified when we do have new uploads. And if you are listening through any other platform, I am just so happy that you are here. So let's go ahead and jump right in. So firstly, what do I mean by a half-lived life? We are alive, we are here, we wake up in the morning, and for the most part, we get done whatever it is we need to get done. And precisely defining this expression really isn't that easy, but I'm going to do my best. It kind of suggests that we are giving the things in our life a half-hearted attempt, that we lack passion and commitment and vision, that we are unengaged and uninspired, that we've given up on being the creators of our reality, that we've just let the waves of life drag us around, that we've become okay with whatever life has handed us, even when we could change it for the better, that we've become passive and we are just kind of going through the motions in our life, that we know we could do and be more, but for whatever reason we just don't. And I think this way of thinking and this way of living is really becoming an epidemic. It's almost like nothing really matters anymore, that nothing is exciting or seems worth the effort. And I know we've all been there. And I also know that more people are at this place in their life than have ever been there before. And I know that we are tired, we are complacent, and our lives have become far too redundant. It's hard to even find examples of people who aren't living this way nowadays. Where has the passion gone? Where are the people who remain curious and excited, that live every day as if it were their last? They must still be out there because this concept is still possible. The world is still turning. We do still have the ability to live a life that is vibrant and engaged. So why is it that so many of us are simply not doing so? It's true that life has ups and downs, but it is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be experienced to its fullest. But how many people can say that they are actually doing that? I can't think of many, and I'm including myself in this equation. We are all robbing ourselves of what could actually be. I know that life has been dramatically different for most of us for nearly a year now, and it's true that we've been prevented in many cases from doing a lot of the things that we love or that we enjoy over the last few months. And even though this is true, I think that many of us began living a half-lived life well before that. I can certainly look back at many of the periods of my own life and testify that I was certainly guilty of that. And believe me, anyone who is experiencing this right now certainly never sought to live this way. It wasn't the dream, it wasn't the goal. It's just how it ended up. But why? what happens to so many of us? Why don't we live life to the fullest? Why aren't we dream makers and achievers and doing all the things that we are capable of? I think it's easy. I think we've given up. We've decided that comfort is somehow better than experience. We've lost our fighting spirit. We've really just kind of bowed down to circumstance. And it's easy to see why we behave like this and why we think like this. We are bombarded with this idea over and over and over. We all just want to kind of fast forward our day so we can get to the part of the day where we can put on sweatpants and have a glass of wine and watch Netflix. We really do start to aspire to do this. And it's not just a few of us, it's just about everyone these days. We just kind of are over it. We just want to relax all the time. But relaxing isn't rewarding when our life isn't balanced. If we are always relaxing or just striving to relax, what's the reward in that? What's the satisfaction? I think this is problematic, and I think this is why so many of us feel so empty right now, because we feel we can't do anything that is meaningful, that is engaging, that is exciting. So we're just kind of bored and frustrated, and we're filled with a lot of negative emotions. And sadly, we are really kidding ourselves if we think that focusing on the things that are merely meant to be distractions and meant to be nothing more than periodic escapism, the focus of our thoughts and our conversations, that we're ever going to be excited about life. And I'm not blaming us for this. Society is really pointing us in this direction, teaching us that these trivial things, these superficial things, are worthy of our time and attention. And we think that just by relaxing as much as possible and mentally clocking out, that somehow we are soothing ourselves, that this strategy is going to make us feel better somehow. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it can. Sometimes we need to do this. But when that is what our life becomes, we start to become really unhappy and complacent and numb because there's no substance anymore. We just kind of rotate between our different distractions and then trying to relax as much as we can. It's like we've become allergic to actually living life. You know, I used to know this woman who had a really successful career, and it was pretty stressful at times, but it is something she enjoyed for the most part. She had to travel a lot, and she often had to do things that were completely out of her comfort zone. She always was talking about how she could not wait to retire and that she was just working hard so she could retire as soon as she possibly could. And, that day finally came. But she didn't have a plan for what she would do with herself when retirement happened. She just basically had nothing to do. She did watch her grandkids that she absolutely loved once or twice a week, and that brought her joy when she was able to do that. But other than that, she really had nothing else. And guess what? She hated it. In fact, whenever I saw her, she just told old stories about the things that she did when she had her career. Not because people should think of work as the most important part of their lives, but because when she was working, she was engaged in life. She felt that she had a purpose. And I think about her all the time because she taught me a valuable lesson that even when life is inconvenient or challenging, that when we are actively taking part in it, for good or for bad, we stay engaged. We learn lessons, we have real experiences, and we really live. We remember that our life has meaning, and when we don't give ourselves any opportunities to remember how valuable and precious our life is, we take it for granted. We decide it's fine to just stay on the couch all day or just stay in a relationship that we aren't happy with. We start to confuse surviving with living, and that is how we start to live a half-lived life. But guess what? even if we are there, or even if we are headed in that direction, it is not too late to shift gears. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. Clocking back into life, finding our passion, discovering what would make our life feel meaningful and fulfilling, pushing ourselves out of the comfort zone before we get stuck there for another year. Today is the day, and if only we realized how precious every single day really was, we could make this so much easier for ourselves, because it is true. Every day, every moment is precious, and we matter. All of us. We are all here on purpose, and we all have a beautiful life that we could be leading. So if that is not happening for us already, if we feel like we aren't living up to our potential, where do we start? Ultimately, we aren't going to be happy until we find a purpose or a passion. And I know that sounds like a huge concept and a huge burden almost, because we think it has to be one giant monumental thing that we have to stick with forever. But that is not true at all. In fact, obsessive passions are often maladaptive and can lead to unhappiness and unhealthy behaviors. This isn't always the case, but it can be. And so when we find things to devote ourselves to in a healthy way that we feel that do have meaning and do make a difference, it will lead to the opposite. It will lead to optimal functioning. So that's what we're going to be talking about. It leads to a sense of accomplishment, and that can lead to a feeling of fulfillment. But when we are just kind of emerging from this half-lived life, it can seem like a tall order, especially because most of us have really no idea what we want to do with our lives, and we haven't even dared to dream that far in a lot of cases. We can't even remember feeling passionate about anything in the past a lot of times, let alone feel like we have a purpose now. So firstly, please know if you're feeling like this, it's okay. We do not have to figure it all out right now. But believe me, we will figure it out. But we have to start getting out there and re-engaging in life before these big ideas are going to start coming to us. And also, again, we don't have to stick to one thing. Passions and purposes can change over and over and over, and we change over and over and over. We may want to be a pro athlete when we are 17 and then want to be a politician when we're 40. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. That's living. That's evolving. That's growing. And growing keeps us interested and inspired. It shows us that there's always something that we can look forward to in our journey. So I just wanted to share a couple of things that might kind of help us on this path. So the first thing is to break our routine. Do something different today. Now, this is definitely not a long-term solution, but we have to kind of snap ourselves out of this hypnosis. We do the same things all the time. We eat the same foods. We talk to the same people. We even think the same thoughts over and over every single day of our lives. So we need to do something else. We need to snap ourselves out of it. We need to remember that fun is actually important. When was the last time you actually had fun? That you did something purely for the joy of it, something whimsical, something silly, something just for entertainment purposes. When was the last time you did something like that? I don't care what it is that you do today, but do something that is fun, that is different, that is something you haven't thought of in a while. Go someplace new, or even drive a different way to work. Give your eyes something new to see. Read something that you would never read. Talk to someone that you would never talk to, but stimulate yourself in some way. Break the routine. We need to get out of this toxic comfort zone, because it is truly keeping us from living our best life. So I don't care if it's small or big, but we've got to do something different. We've got to shake things up. The second thing I suggest is to start to invest the time in really getting to know ourselves and to figure out what life strategies really do work for us. We have to remember that we are all very, very different, and we do change with time. There are things that we are still doing simply because this is how we've always done them, not because these are the things that ultimately are best for us or bring us the most joy or fulfillment and happiness. And a lot of times it just comes down to really, having enough time in introspection and figuring these things out. This is more important than we realize because this is how we really make a map of our life. So, for example, I realized for myself that I'm the type of person that would prefer, if I had something that I really, really wanted, to completely sacrifice different things in my life to have a huge reward in the end. So I would, make major sacrifices for 2 years to have this giant reward. Now, other people would hate this strategy. Other people would much prefer to have a life that is more comfortable and manageable every single day. So they don't want a huge sacrifice. They would, rather kind of chop up sacrifice into small pieces if there's going to be any sacrifice. And that's just personal preference. And that's just one small example. We need to figure out in life overall what types of things work for us, what type of strategies work for us, what is ultimately going to get us to the place that we want to go. And we can really take that time to reflect. We can write in a journal. We can contemplate if we are living a life that really inspires us and is really working well with who we are right now as a person. And we want to think about what motivates us. What is the driving force in our life? What are the things that we need to push us forward? And are we including these factors in our life? So often we are not. And sadly, so often instead we are being pushed by the wrong things like social pressure. A lot of people don't realize as adults how susceptible we are to social pressure. We think this is something that is for adolescents, but that is not true at all. I mean, it is definitely true for adolescents, but this is something that can continue for so many of us. It can be, our families pushing us to live our life in one way, or society, or television, media, could be anything. But we need to figure out if we are living our authentic life and if we are being motivated by the things in our life that really matter to us. Because if we are attempting to be motivated by these external pressures, we're never going to feel truly motivated because we're not really passionate about these things. These are things that we don't believe in. These are things that we're getting pushed in that direction, but it's not coming from a pure place. So that's going to matter as well. So that's something, that is a big concept, but that's something that's very important. We really need to get to know ourselves and know, what we're willing to do and what matters most to us. The third thing that we can do is really ask ourselves, what kind of life do we want to be leading? If we had the time, if we had the finances, if we had the energy, what would we be doing right now? And after we've really thought about this, we can think of it in more practical terms. If there's any fragment of these things that we could include in our life right now, it's time to start including these things. Now, this is going to sound maybe a little strange, but the other day I was doing the laundry, and when the washing machine got to the spin cycle, it started making this sound that made me stop for a second, and I realized, again, this is going to sound strange, but I realized that the reason that I was stopping and the reason why it caught my attention is because it was making the exact sound that a plane makes when it takes off. And it was that moment that I realized how desperately I missed traveling. I grew up with my dad being a pilot, and we did so much traveling in my youth that it, became something that was so important to me and filled me with so much passion. I love to learn about different places, different cultures, everything, different food. I just like learning about more, expanding horizons. And I realized how constricted I felt in this pandemic where we are really not able to travel anywhere. And I made this commitment to myself right when I realized that I was having this need that wasn't fulfilled, that I was just going to drive that weekend to go to see the snow. I haven't seen the snow in such a long time, and even though it's freezing here, it's not the same without snow, and I feel like it would just be so visually different. So I made that commitment to myself this week, and I am going this weekend. I'm going to see snow no matter what. And that's something that I know is going to make me feel passionate about life again. So it's just, as strange as it is, something that we need to ask ourselves. What do we need in our life? What makes life fun for us? What could we be doing? What could we be seeing? What could we be experiencing that would make us feel passionate again? And that's something small. It only takes me probably 3 hours to drive somewhere where I can see snow. So that's something that is correctable in 3 hours. So we can think about all the different little things that we can do in our life that could, actually be very significant, that could, just give us that little spark. Sometimes we just need that little spark because we've been kind of sparkless for so long now. So that's something that you can think about as well. Another thing, and this is something that I say all the time, but we need to set goals. We need to figure out what it is that we are passionate about and actually work towards them, because most of the time there are not these great hurdles in our way to achieve goals. These are usually just limitations that we put on ourselves. And when we are actively trying to reach goals, research has shown that it actually makes us just as happy as if we had already achieved these goals. So it's just going through the process. So take a few minutes, set some goals, search your heart, and then actually take that first step. It is going to invigorate you, and you're going to realize that you are excited to take the next step. It is exciting to work towards something. It is not exciting to lead a life that is redundant and is just filled with relaxing. I know we think that that should be a wonderful life, but again, studies have shown that that does not comprise a meaningful and fulfilling life. So set some meaningful goals. Another thing is to stop wasting time on any habit that isn't bringing joy. So the biggest ones that come to my mind are watching TV, scrolling through social media, anything like that. All these mindless things that really do nothing for our lives at all. They just waste our time. Now, most people, at least in the United States of America, it could be different where you are, have about 4 hours of discretionary time in their life. That means that they have 4 hours that they are not working, eating, or sleeping, or doing anything else necessary. So you have 4 hours. And it's also shown that most people waste almost all of that time doing things that add little to no value at all to their lives. So that is, again, engaging in things like watching television and, just looking through Facebook or Twitter. And I'm not saying these things are evil, that we need to shut them off forever. But we really need to pay attention about how much time we are flushing down the drain, because all that time really eats out that 4 hours. That's all we have. We have 4 hours. And if we're, spending 3 of those hours watching TV and looking up things on social media that we don't care about, or that actually make us upset or angry or sad or jealous or feel bad about ourselves, this is something that clearly we have to take care of. This is something that has to stop, because that time could be spent really doing something that makes us feel passionate about life, that makes us feel good about ourselves, that makes us feel that we are contributing or learning or, anything positive. But these things have been shown to actually fill us with much more negative emotions than positive emotions. But yet, we voluntarily spend our time doing these activities every single day. So that's something that we want to be aware of also. We want to also consider developing new hobbies or interests, or, think about growing in some way. Think about learning Studies have also shown that when we are learning, we feel much better about ourselves. We feel excited and we're reminded that the world isn't as small as we are making it. The world is endless. There are so many things that we can do and learn, but when we have our life on repeat, we forget that. We feel that life is boring. But that's not true. Maybe the life that we're leading is boring, but life certainly doesn't have to be, boring. And there are so many things that we could be doing that are interesting and that are exciting. And sometimes it just starts by reading that book or even watching a documentary, just getting excited about something and, remembering that there's more out there and trying new things. Children are so happy a lot of the times because they are constantly exploring. We lose that sense of exploration, and that really just confines us to this small life, and we are so much bigger than that. So think about things that you've always wanted to do, and now's the time, especially if you are in lockdown and you have more time than usual. Use that time. It's a gift. Make it a gift for you. Another thing is get out there and help people, make a difference. We know that people are very happy when they are in service to other people. That is such a quick and easy way to feel that your life has meaning, when you are directly impacting the life of someone else. So, it could be volunteering. It could just be asking your grandmother if you could do her grocery shopping for her, or whatever it is. But get out there and make a difference for someone. Take the time to write a letter to someone. Doesn't matter what it is, but that is such an easy way to feel that your day made a difference, that you are making a difference, that your life is worthwhile. And think about, if you do these types of things all throughout your day, how much happier you would be. So that's something that we can think about as well. Another thing is to monitor our mood. Now, I'm not saying to stuff your feelings down or to ignore your negative emotions. That is never healthy to do and usually backfires. But we need to be aware of our feelings. We need to validate them, but we don't want to swim in these negative emotions or exaggerate them or continue to talk about them or add fuel to them. When they are negative, we need to, again, express them, validate them, but then we need to kind of move on. We can do a lot of different things to make our mood better. We can do things to make ourselves feel happier. And when we are happier, we tend to be more engaged in life. So what can we do to feel happier? We can do the basics. We can eat better. We can sleep better. We can exercise. We can get outside. We could meditate. We can focus on self-care. We could improve our social relationships. We could spend time with family or friends if it's safe to do so. And if not, find creative ways to keep our, social relationships nice and strong. But there are a lot of things that we can do to make ourselves happy instead of wallowing in negative emotions or exaggerating them or just turning on the news and focusing on the negative. We can always choose our focus. We can choose to focus on positive things. That does not mean there aren't negative things happening in the world. There can be negative things happening in the world, and we can acknowledge them and we can be aware of them, but we can also choose to still focus on the positive. Another thing that we can do is to kind of get out of our own circle, challenge our beliefs, challenge our thoughts of ourselves, our own limiting beliefs, our old labels of ourselves, and just in general, we can think about other opinions. We as human beings get so used to just constantly trying to reaffirm the beliefs that we have and seek out information that just kind of validates how we're already feeling. We tend to talk to only people that share the same religion as us and the same hobbies as us. And, it's time that we expand and we realize that maybe our life is boring and uninspiring because we are just, surrounding ourselves with the same things that we've been surrounding ourselves with since we were in high school. So we can really seek out new experiences and new people and new points of view. And that gets us excited about life again. It's the same thing with challenging who we think that we are. Maybe we are still holding on to the person that we thought we were when we were 12 and now we're 40 or whatever it is, whatever your age is. But we have to acknowledge the fact that we are evolving as people and we need to see where that leads us. We don't want to trap ourselves into, the existence that we created for ourselves even 5 years ago. We need to allow space for expansion, and that is going to help us fully live our life. We're not going to live a half life because we are seeing any direction that our life could potentially go in. We are opening doors for ourselves instead of closing doors. Because think of how we got here in the first place. We've just been doing the same things over and over and over. And not only do things start to get boring with time, we are closing ourselves off to possibilities. We are not seeing what is potentially out there. If we could know all the amazing things out there, we would, take the time to put on our shoes and get outside, or to enroll in that online course, or to take that date with that person, whatever it is. But we need to try, we need to start doing things, because if you want to keep feeling how you're feeling right at this moment, then keep doing the things that you're doing. But if you want to change your life, if you want to fully live life, you need to re-engage yourself. You need to try, you need to expand, you need to push yourself out of the comfort zone, because nothing great's going to happen here. It's just going to be a repeat. If you want to repeat every single day, then be my guest. Everybody is different. But if you want something new, it has to start with you. We are the only ones responsible for changing our life. We are the only ones that really have the ability to improve our life. And we have so much ability to do so. So that is my invitation for you. I don't want you to be discouraged anymore. I want you to be encouraged and know that the future is still bright. The possibilities are endless. You are in control. So if there is a type of life that you want to lead, if there is a dream that you have, you and you alone have the ability to start working on these things and making them be a reality for you. And I wish you so much love and luck in this process. So I truly hope that this podcast was inspiring to you today. Like I said, I really needed to hear these words myself, and I do feel inspired now. So please keep the questions coming. You can email me at nena.lavonne@gmail.com, and that is spelled nena.lavonne at gmail. You can also reach me on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at Nena Lavonne. And I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Know that life is meant to be fun. It is meant to be enjoyed. And yes, again, there are ups and downs, but I truly believe there can be more ups. But we have the responsibility to make that happen. So I greatly look forward to talking to you next time, and I truly hope your day is extraordinary. See you next time, guys.